What we are going to be talking about now is Publication Builder, or PubBuilder for short. What we use PubBuilder for is to build and set up your publications for day-to-day use. It allows us to set up a publication plan so that the system knows what and how to do something. PubBuilder is organized as a wizard to step you through all of the definitions that are required. What we will do now is to walk through a plan as an exercise for a simple 8-page tab with color on page 1 and 8, using the template that was in a previous video. Okay, we are going to make some definitions. So that we can build a publication, our publication name will be ACFA News and will be the first edition, section E. Our incoming file name will be formatted as a 2-character publication name followed by a 2-character section letter and a 3-digit page number. To start PubBuilder from the console, click on the first button. After the wizard appears, we have a few options to work with. We can build a new edition from scratch or open an existing plan that was previously saved so that it can be used like a template so that there is very little to be changed on the day-to-day basis. We will build a plan from scratch and go over some of the basic functionalities to set up a plan. The first thing we will need to do is to set some default parameters. This does not need to be done all the time. Only when you have a new system or wish to add a new publication, section, or edition. Down in the lower left-hand corner, you have a button labeled Default Settings. Click it to open a new dialog box. Here we defined on the Names tab both the long and short name that we can use as variables for both expected file naming, plate annotation, and displayed in the web client that we will go over in another video. In the left-hand list, we have 5 items listed: publication, edition, zone, section, and book. For each type of name is a set of long names and the associated short names. A one-to-one relationship are defined. The long and short names can have different lengths, but must be at least a single character long. So now let's set up our default names. Highlight the publication line and type under the long name ACFA News and AG under the short name for the same line. We now have a one-to-one relationship for a publication name of ACFA News. Now highlight edition line and type in first for the long name on the next available line and M1 for short. We are going to add another line this time for the long name as second to stand for a second edition with M2 for the short. Now highlight the section for the long and short name, enter in an A, also enter an E for both on the next line. Now go to the Miscellaneous tab, and what we want to change or set is our default date format. The system comes default showing month, day, year, but the date format that we wish to use is only month, day. So in the text box over, type with MMDD in lowercase. If your format is different than this, there is a pull down with all the variables that can be used. All of the rest of the options and tabs are covered in the manual, online help, and in the formal training. Now click on the Save as Default button to save all of your settings as your default parameters and click OK. Right above the Default Settings button is the Publication Trees Setup button. Click it to open up another dialog box so that we can set up a publication hierarchy. In the publication pull-down box, select the ACFA News for a publication. Then we will know that we are doing an edition and section type of edition. So select the edition section, radio button, and you will see a new column has been displayed. As we said, we were going to build the first edition and section E. So under the edition columns, check the first edition checkbox. then select the E section under the Sections column. You will note on the right side we have a tree hierarchy of what we just set up. Click on OK to exit. You will note that there is a publication date that is being displayed. This date, by default, always picks the next day. If you need to change it to represent your publication date or run date, there is a button for the calendar to pick your date. Now click on Next to advance to the next window. On this part, we are going to set up some naming conventions for our input and output sheet and sheet name structure. On the top is an area for the input file name structure. This is where we format the incoming file name. This field is used to define the configuration to be used to control what incoming pages relate to which edition. The variables are used to define the configuration. These variables are derived from the way in which the publication has been defined in the tree structure hierarchy selection and can be overwritten by selecting and rearranging other variables. You will note that the variables are case sensitive from the drop-down box so that you may select the long or short parameter that we had set up. Below that is the number of digits for the page digits. This sets the number of digits that is in the page number in your file name. Next, we specify the character for the color field for a composite. This is usually left at the default. Next specifies what the sheet naming structure will look like. Again, using the same variables as the input file name can be entered here. This would appear under each page icon in the client to identify the sheet name. Below that is a naming structure for the output file name structure. For our example, we are going to leave them all as they are. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen sets up the page counts for the publication. On top you have a spin box where we enter the total number of pages that are expected with this publication. For the example, we will make a simple 4-sheet tab, so leave the 8th for the number of pages alone. Below that, we will pick in the Imposed By pull-down Perfect Bound. You will note when you did this, a spin button shows the number of sheets. Since this is a tab, it would always be half the number of pages. Below the Imposed By, you will have a section listing the sections that you have defined and the number of pages for that section along with the page range. In other words, what is the first page number to come in? Down in the lower left-hand corner is a checkbox labeled as Auto Update. When this is checked, the display gets updated as you make adjustments. For our example, we are going to leave them all as they are. Click on the Next to advance to the next screen. On this screen, we will set up the edition options. The first grouping is the initial status. This will set the edition to be placed on hold or not when the plan is activated. With it set to off, the edition will be on hold and will not release any sheets until the hold is removed, but will accept incoming pages. Below that is the soft proof. This will tell the system if you wish to make soft proofs. On the right side is press run time. Here you can set up a press run time that will let you sort the editions based on the press run date and time in the client. For our example, we are going to leave all the default settings. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen lets you set up the number of colors that will be defined. The default 4 colors are black, cyan, magenta, and yellow. If you have a spot color, you need to change the number of inks to the number of colors in the job to a max of 7 colors. We are going to leave all the default colors. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen is used to change the default color. This option only relates to incoming composite EPS files. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen displays each expected page so that the number of inks for each may be defined. By default, all pages are displayed at first as one color, but if the majority of the pages are 4-color, it is easier to click on the 4 button in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to change all pages to display as having 4 inks, and then to make changes to pages not conforming to this specification. By right-clicking on the sheet page icon, in addition to setting the number of inks, there is the added convenience of defining the layer file names and adding extra information to the page. If the publication is imposed, the ability to set number of inks for all pages on a sheet will become available. Setting the number of inks for all pages on the sheet allows a global setting per plate. Click on Next to advance to next screen. On this screen, we can set up page content. Page content can be assigned to individual pages and layers comprised of 3 content descriptions. These are editorial, advertising, classified, and is covered in the online help and manual or classroom training. Click on Next to advance to next screen. On this screen, we can set up Resubmit Planned. Resubmit Planned allows planned resubmissions for selected pages rather than for an edition, and is covered in the online help and manual or classroom training. Click on Next to advance to next screen. On this screen, we set up page options. Approval. This option allows you to hold pages or separations to ensure these pages have been approved before they are output. Typically, this is used for approving soft proofs and page content. Enable or disable approval by selecting the relevant radio buttons. If enabled, the client edition icon and sheet icons linked to this edition will contain check boxes and circles indicating approval is required before this edition can be released for production. Specific page type. Select composite or separations as the page type. Hold page. Selecting yes will cause pages to be held until approved. No means to process. Require reason for rejection. Selecting yes activates the reason for rejection note box in the client page shortcut menu and under soft proof. You can reject pages, single layers as well as all layers. This is available for any plan that includes page approval. You will be able to reject pages, all layers or selected layers in tracking, details, thumbnails, or in the soft proof screen. We are going to leave all the default settings. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen sets approval and hold sheets attributes for a specified sheet. By configuring sheet options, it implies any plate furniture is to be applied to that sheet. Approval. The approval option allows a person to hold sheets or sheet separations to ensure that these sheets have been approved before they are output. This option can be enabled or disabled by selecting the yes or no, respectively, radio buttons. If this option is enabled, the client edition icon and sheet icons linked to this edition will contain checkboxes and circles, indicating approval is required before this edition can be released for production. Hold sheets. Selecting yes will cause sheets to be held until approved. No means to process. We are going to leave all the default settings. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen is used to configure which Plate Builder template file should be used for this edition. The PMT file should previously have been configured with the number of pages to be imposed, the orientation and position of each page and piece of page furniture per sheet. To select the PMT file for this edition, click the Add button, and the Add Template File screen will appear. The Add Template File screen will always default to the location of the PEF folder. This is where by default all Plate Builder templates will be stored. Select the PMT file to use and click Open. For our example, we are going to pick the 50 tab. The other options are covered in the online help and manual or classroom training. Clicking Impose opens the Impose Sheets window. What we need to do is to apply the template by pulling down the pull-down box and select the 50 tab and hit Apply. Below that are two pull-down boxes for the event sequence. Selecting CTP Single for both and hit Apply to both. As in most tabs, we need to rotate the even or the odd pages so that they line up on the press right. We are going to rotate the even plate for this example. Click on the R on the second sheet. You see that the R has rotated 180 degrees. Now we can do that for all of the even pages, or by right-clicking the second sheet and select to highlight that sheet. Over on the left-hand side, we have a button labeled Custom Copy. Click on it and check the checkbox for rotation, and click on OK. Under that, you see a button that says Paste Even. Click it. This will apply all the configurations we checked in the custom copy to all even pages. Click OK to exit. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen offers the possibility of reviewing and changing the default parameters for a specific page separation. For our example, we do not need to change anything, but information is covered in the online help and manual or classroom training. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen allows us to set up different types of groupings for different pages. For this example, we are not going to do groupings, but of course it is explained in the online help and manual or classroom training. Click on Next to advance to next screen. This screen is used to save and activate our plan. Before activating the plan, decide if you should check pre-process or don't check. The check pre-process, don't check options at the bottom left advises Director if it should check for any previously processed files active in Director that relate to this edition. Duplicated plan action controls the update of editions that are already in production. You have New Plan, Clear Status, that replaces the existing plan and clear any information from the database. And New Plan, Retain Status, will update an existing plan and will repopulate any pages and status that have already came in. If this is a new plan, it does not matter which option you choose. In the Save Activate area, we can decide what to do with this plan. Save will save the plan as a PMD file. You should give it a meaningful name, as you may wish to use this as a template for future publication. Activate will activate this plan in the engine, and you will see in the client layout that you just did. The Save and Activate is the same as the Save and Activate in one step. Once you choose what you wish to do, you would hit the Execute button to put things into motion. Once the execute is complete, you will see a new button popping up as saying New Edition. This is your indication that the plan had been submitted. By clicking it, it will bring you back to the first screen and clear all entries as if you opened it for the first time. Now, click Exit to quit PubBuilder and we are done.